Hello friends, this is Rahul Magan here as a Chief Executive Officer of Treasury Consulting LLP, and today we would be covering a videos about securities financing transaction regulation, which is a very integral part and which is changing at a very faster pace. As you very well understand that we as a company is forming a fixed income platform, and in this fixed income platform one of the things which we are coming up is the regulatory. Which is RegTech, because our fixed income platform would covering the RegTech also, which is regulatory technology. Now it's changing very fast. Example, we have MiFID second, which is coming up, MiFID which is coming up, CRD which is Capital Reform Directives which is coming up, CRR which is coming up, Basel III which is coming up. So there are many things which are coming up. But in nutshell, we would like to cover majority of the things in the first instance of a fixed income platform. Now onwards, you will see that we'll going to produce a lot of videos about the regulatory technologies as far as this MiFID is concerned, and so many things are concerned. This time we are talking about Securities Financing Transactions Regulation, shortly known as SFTR. That being introduced roughly 12th of January 2016, and of course this is a never-ending process. It keeps changing. A lot of new regulations which are coming up in SFTR. First of all, what is SFTR? SFTR is to prevent one thing, which is shadow banking. This is an official statement. SFTR is to prevent what is shadow banking. But my personal opinion is that SFTR is no way to control the shadow banking. Because the kind of infrastructure they have, the kind of regulations which they have, the obsolete stuff which they have, it is very difficult to control that shadow banking. But still, the official premise is that they are here to control the shadow banking. Nonetheless, let's move forward. Right now, what is this that SFTR is applicable on these 5 or 6 different kind of transaction. Example, repurchase transactions, which are shortly known as repo and reverse repo. If we speak from Indian context, which is known as repo and which is known as reverse repo. Then it is on securities, commodities, lending and borrowing. Then it is a buy and sell deals, buy sell deals, which is on FX. FX stands for foreign exchange, and FI stands for fixed income. And then we have margin lending transaction, where you need to lend the margin, and of course we had a lot of talk about ETR, which is exchange traded derivative and exchange traded derivative margining, wherein lots of wherein more or less every derivative is based upon margining. Then we will have TRS, total return swap. We have a lot of videos about total return swap, and in this video, what is total return swap? There are two counterparties. Basically, in one line, what total return swap is that when you wanted to enjoy the benefit of a asset or a liability without owing it. This is nothing but the total return swap. I fail to understand why total return swap is in SFTR, first of all, and why CFD, which is contract for differences, why CFD is not in SFTR. Of course, we are planning a dedicated video on SFTR, TRS versus TRS, which is total return swap versus CFD. But if we go with the current nomenclature of EMSS, which is European Market Securities Securities Forum, right? They have clearly said that total return swap would be a part of SFTR, while CFD won't be a part of SFTR. I fail to understand why such kind of message is being delivered. But officially speaking, these are the 4 things which they are covering now, which is repurchase transactions, security commodity lending, buy sell deals. Buy sell deals will further divided into 2 parts, which is foreign exchange and fixed income. Margin which is marginal lending transaction, which would predominantly be covering exchange traded derivative and exchange traded margining, exchange traded derivative margining. And then they have total return swap. Ideally, they should have CFD also, which is contract for differences. I'm not sure why they are not covering it, but that is a different part of discussion. To whom it will apply? It will apply to UCTIS management companies, UCTIS investment companies. It complies to AIM, alternate investment management. It complies to AIFM, alternate investment fund management. It complies to EU based SFT. EU means European Union, and this is a EU based framework. So there is no national legislation which is required to do that in any country. Example: Germany, France, Italy, Ireland, except London, because London is not a part of Europe now. In all these countries, there is no legislation which is required to reproduce that. It's not required at all. It's for EU. It's for EU, and it would be covering everybody in the EU. Even if in the EU we have a counterparty who is having offices in India, Singapore, Thailand, Dubai, Philippines, say London, and everywhere, it is also applies to that also. So suppose there is a bank, say BNP Paribas. Perfect example. BNP Paribas is a well-known European bank. They have a business across EU. You just name the country in Europe, they have the business. I would have taken an example of a city also, but city is also a relevant example, because if you really wish to trade in Europe, this is my personal jurisdiction because I served as a corporate treasurer for an American company. If you wanted to trade in Europe, then city is the bank which is everywhere. Even in the Finland, and the capital of the Finland, which is Helsinki, city is there. In fact, to finding any other American bank except city in such parts of Europe is not easy, but city is there. Here we are not considering an example of city, although city is also in MiFID II. We are considering an example of a European bank, which is BNP Paribas. BNP Paribas, it's a well-known European bank. They have a good branches in India also, Singapore also, Thailand, Dubai, and everywhere. They all have SFTR. All these transactions with the foreign exchange or the front office desk of Singapore, of BNP Paribas, which is repo, security lending, borrowings, commodities, buy-sell deals, margin lending, total turn swap, and repurchase transaction, except CFD. We are planning a video SFTR, CFD versus TRS. This has to be reported to a trade repository. And who are applicable? They all are applicable. Utilities Management Company, Alternative Investment Funds, Alternative Investment Fund Management, EU-based FRT, EU-based CRA. We are coming to CRA. EU-based but non-EU SFT unit, which is like BNP Paribas India, which is predominantly a European bank but working in India. There is another thing which is very much applicable in SFTR, and unfortunately, considering in Indian context, this is almost missing, and I think India has not yet introduced that. I'm not saying this is the brainchild of EMSA. This is actually a brainchild of ISLA, which is International Securities Lending Association. They have a very good document like ISDA. International Stocks and Derivative Association would have their document which is known as Master Service Agreement 2002. Similarly, ISLA would have a document which is Global Master Security Lending Agreement, GMSLA, and the latest version of GMSLA is 2010. And as I already mentioned you that we are now entering into RegTech, and in our Singapore subsidiary we will started offering the consulting of RegTech also. So we would be covering several videos on GMLSA as well, SLA as well. But one thing which we need to take out here, which is a linking between SFTR and ISLA, is the Collateral Reuse Agreement. In Indian context, what is the meaning of repo? When you are taking money from central bank and you need to put some collateral, did we ever thought that rehypothecation of that collateral could be possible or not? I am ICICI Bank. I am taking money from RBI. I have put a collateral of 20,000 crore and I got, assuming haircut is zero, and I got a funding of 20,000 crore for 14 days. Whatever the interest could be, 20,000 into 14 by 365 into 6.25%. Whatever repo rate it is charging, that will come on me. But the point is, next day RBI is going for reverse repo. Could RBI go for the rehypothecation of these securities? We never use the word rehypothecation. We use a technical and a diplomatic word, which is Collateral Reuse Agreements, CRA. And we are planning a very technical video about that very soon. In this week, we are launching several videos about RegTech. We are here talking about Collateral Reuse Agreements. What are the two important features of collateral reuse agreement? And they are not and features. They are either an or feature, either this or this. Collateral reuse agreement means you have a party A who has put a collateral to party B. Can this party B put the same collateral to party D? Yes or no? How are we going to make sure that? The ideal way of looking at it is either you have to mention title transfer agreement, which is a part of Global Master Service Lending Agreement. Either you have to mention title transfer agreement or you have to mention securities interest agreement. As already mentioned, this is either and or. Title transfer agreement is approving this B to rehypothecate to D, while the securities interest agreement will not approve B to rehypothecate to D. Of course, at the end, all these transactions and all these people who are applicable to SFTR, they have to report to trade repository. It could be CLS, it could be different. We have multiple trade repositories across the globe, and they have to make sure that whatever it is happening, the securities which are getting pledged or the collateral which is getting is pledged is right in nature, or the purpose is getting not defeated, which is shadow banking, and there are multiple things which they need to check. So this is an introductory video about SFTR. Of course, SFTR is effective 12th January 2016. Many European nations are working on SFTR, but effective 3rd January 2018, when MiFID II will come, this will increase. The scope will increase. We all set to launch the consulting of SFTR, and our upcoming fixed income platform would covering MiFID II as well. We would like to put a disclaimer that we won't be covering every regulatory. In the next 2-3 years, when we will increase the scope of our fixed income platform from X level to Y level to Z level, then we would be able to increase the regulatory aspect as well. But yes, that is a sure fact which we are giving you a word that we are adding regulatory as well, which is MiFID, CRR, CRD and others. In case you have any consulting requirement, and we are also launching the training courses on MiFID and a lot of new things, you're welcome to connect with me at 9899242978. And my email ID is rahul.magan@treasuryconsulting.in. In case you don't want it to not been able to write it down, simply visit our website www.treasuryconsulting.in and you will get all the information. Thank you and have a wonderful time.